Hey there, Curaleaf traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also, home to the best MJ community. Happy Hump Day. It's Wednesday, March 6th. Hope you're doing well. And in this video, we're going to do another update on Curaleaf. We're going to take a look at their Q4 2023 earnings that came out today after the market close, and they beat in terms of analyst estimates. So they actually had a pretty big beat as well. If you recall my video from yesterday, we did an earnings prep. I gave the numbers to be looking out for in terms of revenue and earnings per share, and they beat on both of those. So we'll cover that and the details. We'll go over some highlights, and then I'll bring up the chart as well. But we were expecting some weakness in terms of technicals and technical analysis and in terms of the chart itself, and that's exactly what we got today. But this downside that we saw today on the price and on the chart actually may soften the blow and could actually prevent the stock from dropping any lower, especially after this great earnings going into tomorrow. But we'll see. We'll see how the broader market responds as well. And I have a bearish pattern that we potentially could be looking out for on the S&P 500. And if it does confirm, then that would mean more downside for Curaleaf, more than likely, as that would be headwinds. But full disclosure, I do own Curaleaf. It's my second biggest holding. You can check out my MJ Portfolio 2024 update with percentages for my entire MJ portfolio. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only. You should never ever buy or sell anything based on anything that I say. Also, you can like the video, share it, subscribe, take the bell, all that good stuff. If you're new, you'll be notified on any future videos or whenever I go live. Also, you can follow us over on X, formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. This was the video I posted yesterday, and if you're not familiar with these videos, essentially I do an earnings prep video. I go over the analyst estimates, and then I basically add them all up and then get a consensus and then give you the numbers. And then when the numbers actually come out, you can see whether or not they beat or they miss, or if they come in flat. I didn't actually join the conference call. I had a lot going on today. I was looking after my daughter and just got a few minutes to come on and do a quick update for everybody. But spoiler alert, they did beat in terms of analyst estimates. In this video, I mentioned it. If we just bring up the actual video here, I should have had that up before, but it won't take me long here. There we go. So you can see here, we were forecasting 337.7 million as the consensus on Wall Street. And then for the quarter, we were expecting negative 0.0466. And then if we bring up the actual report here, you can see here that they had revenue for the quarter of 345 million. So they had a big beat there in terms of revenue. And if we scroll down to earnings per share, you can see for the quarter they had negative 0.01. So another big beat in terms of EPS. So that was the forecast, and the stock was down, what was it, over 6%? Yeah, almost 7% at the close. It would have been down on the day today from the high of yesterday to the low of the day today. We were down another almost 11%. So this is why we can't just look at the fundamentals. We can't just look at the numbers. We have to look at what the charts are saying, what the technicals are saying, and then form an overall unbiased opinion, right? If we look at the technicals, we look at the broader market, the S&P 500 as well. We had a down day today, but we did break the high of yesterday, but we closed red. Very weird day today in the broader market, but as we know, crypto kind of stealing the show right now. And as I've been saying for a while, we're probably going to see that be the case until big tech and crypto enters a bear market. That's when I think MJ is really going to start to steal the show. But we'll go through this here pretty quickly. I'm not going to read the entire report, obviously, but we'll go over some key points here. So the fourth quarter 2023 revenue of 345 million represented an increase of 4% quarter over quarter. And they also had adjusted EBITDA for the fourth quarter of 83 million, representing 24% of revenue, a 490 basis point improvement year over year. And full year 2023 cash flow from continuing operations of 91 million. And this is by far my biggest holding in terms of U.S. producers. Tilray being my biggest MJ holding. And again, you can check out my MJ portfolio video for 2024. But Curaleaf, my second biggest holding, and I am super bullish, obviously, with Germany coming online as well. You know, the first pillar 2 is going to be massive as well, but it's going to be a slow rollout. But we know that Curaleaf is going to be a huge beneficiary of that. And they even expressed interest. There was rumors flying around potentially that they could express interest in acquiring Kronos. So I do think a lot of MSOs are going to become LPs, and I think a lot of LPs will become MSOs. That'll be the blue chip merger phase eventually. But we're not there yet, and we will get there. But you know, the writing's on the wall. Look at Acreage, look at Canopy, look at MedMen. Tilray has convertible notes in them. We've seen rumors flying around that Kronos could potentially get bought out by Curaleaf. So I think it will happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. But today, Curaleaf reported its financial and operational results for the fourth quarter and full year-end 2023. And that's the fiscal year-end. All financial information is also in US dollars, unless otherwise indicated. So we'll scroll down here. One thing I did want to mention, for the year, the revenue was $1.35 billion, up 6% from 2022. I hear people say all the time that like MJ is not going to be a very profitable sector. Well, that right there should tell you all you need to know. And also, Boris Jordan, executive chairman of Curaleaf, I did a video, you can check it out. He said that if it wasn't for 280E tax burden, they've already paid over 350, it's probably close to $400 million now, just under 280E. If they didn't have 280E, he said they would already probably, like most likely, would already be paying a dividend to investors. And in that video, he says that he believes that MJ companies are going to be very high cash flowing businesses. And he thinks dividends are going to be a very popular thing in the sector. So the fact that some people still think that MJ is not going to be a lucrative sector is, unfathomable in my opinion. It's going to be absolutely massive. And then with all the, the scientific breakthroughs and things like that, they said they were working with different universities and colleges and things like that for medication on pain and substitutes for opioids. So there's so much use cases that we still have that are untapped, right? So I'm excited for the future. But Matt Darren, CEO of Curaleaf, said our fourth quarter results are a solid reflection of the discipline. And then they go on to talk about market share growth in key markets like Arizona, Florida, New York, and Pennsylvania. So we know Pennsylvania is coming online here soon in terms of adult use, more than likely. And then Florida, I'm pretty sure it's already a done deal that we're going to see adult use on the ballot for 2024. And then I think that there's a very, very high probability that it gets enacted in the summer of 2025. And that's going to be arguably the biggest market in the U.S. So we'll go through here, eclipsing the 1 billion mark for the first time. So excited to announce new products. So poised for solid 2024 growth and beyond. And that's something as well that Boris Jordan has echoed, is it's a return to growth at this point. Imagine if we get rescheduling here. I think it's very likely that we get it between now and the end of April, if not maybe a couple months after that, but there's going to be a 60-day comment period. Then we know that they'll probably want to get it done before the elections. So I think the most likely scenario is we get it at some point, between now and the next few months. And then I think the most likely scenario is Schedule 3 approval, and then 280E goes away after the comment period and after it gets enacted, right? So more than likely late 2024 or early 2025, 280E would go away. And then imagine that extra $350 million that would have hit the bottom line. There could be a dividend, right? So this is how early we are and how much growth there is. There really is so much growth, and we're returning to it. And it's very exciting. Smash the like, drop a comment if you're excited. So we'll go through a little bit quicker here. Gross profit, $156.2 million, and gross margin of 45%, which is great to see. Those are definitely great margins. Adjusted gross profit of $160.4 million, and adjusted gross margin of 46%. Net loss attributable to Curaleaf Holdings, Inc., excluding discontinued operations of $57.7 million, or net loss per share of 0.08. And this is for the fourth quarter. Adjusted net loss and continued operations of Curaleaf Holdings of $5 million, or adjusted net loss per share from continued operations of 0.01, and adjusted EBITDA of $83 million, and adjusted EBITDA margin of 24%. Cash at the quarter end totaled $91.8 million. So they're not sitting on a boatload of cash, but it's still not that bad. There's still a lot of other companies that are in a way worse position. And like I said, if 280E goes away, they're going to have more money than they know what to do with, essentially. So net revenue for the full year 2023, $1.35 billion, as I mentioned, 6% year-over-year increase. Gross profit of $614.4 million and gross margin of 46%. So go through this a little bit quicker here. So net loss per share for the year was 0.39, so negative 0.39. And adjusted EBITDA of $304.5 million, or adjusted EBITDA margin of 23%. So in Florida, we opened an additional store in Sarasota, totaling 61 stores in the state. So obviously a big focal point for them, and it's going to be a massive market. Like I said, it could be arguably the biggest in the U.S. In December, we began selling into the New York adult use wholesale market as well, going to be another massive market. And on December 14th, we completed our uplisting to the Toronto Stock Exchange. So following in the footsteps of TerrAscend, and this is going to be a trend that continues, and then they're going to have their eye set on U.S. major exchanges like the NYSE and the NASDAQ, right? So much growth, it's not even funny. Entered into an agreement to sell our main adult use store as well. So I'm not going to go through all this. They talk about began selling edibles in the UK market. They completed the acquisition of EU GMP processing assets from Clever Leaves in Portugal to further integrate our European business. So when you have that EU GMP certification, good manufacturing practices, essentially you can export and basically sell to the EU, right? So this is great. They're going to be a huge beneficiary of that German market as well. So again, you can check out all of this details on your own time. I'm not going to run through it here in effort of time, but we will bring up the chart here. I mentioned that we could see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross. I mentioned that the technicals were more than likely pointing to more downside and daily oversold conditions. If we bring up MSOS ETF, it was the same thing. We had a EMA 12 and 26 bear cross on our way to daily oversold conditions. And if we bring up Curaleaf here once again, we lost a daily uptrend. We had our low, high, higher low, and higher high. We came down. We lost key support there at 662, and then we were no longer in a daily uptrend at this point. The trend is flat. So when you lose a daily uptrend, and you could see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross rather, that is just indicative of momentum starting to wane and shift to the other side, right? In this instance, we were looking at the bears taking over in terms of the daily time frame. If we zoom out to the weekly time frame, though, and I want to chart on let's go to CURLF on the OTC because we have more trading history here. So on the weekly time frame, we did confirm a weekly downtrend as well with a lower high and lower low. So this is not what we want to see as bulls. And when you confirm a weekly downtrend or a downtrend on any level time frame, it means zoom out to the next level time frame higher than that. So in this case, the monthly, and look for consolidation. And that's exactly what's happening. We're consolidating, losing the low of the previous monthly candle. But at this point, there's nothing major to be worrying about here. We're holding EMA 12 here on the monthly, which is sitting at $4.25 USD. And we could be gearing up for the first ever monthly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross in company history. And if we see this, so this was a bear cross here with the shorter term, the 12 period above the 26 period exponential moving average. Whenever that happens, when it's above the longer term, and the shorter term comes down and crosses it, that's a bear cross. From the time that crossed, price dropped another 70%. So now we're seeing the flip side where the shorter term is below the longer term, and when that crosses, it's a bull cross, and when it's on the monthly time frame, it's way more bullish. So it's looking really, really good here. And if we were to see this monthly EMA 12 and 26 bull cross, it's more than likely going to be on a DEA headline approval of Schedule 3, in my opinion. There's also talks that we could see safer banking. We could get some sort of safe banking done before the elections as well. So I've always said that they're more than likely going to open the floodgates for Wall Street, right? They're going to get their JP Morgan's, Morgan Stanley's, Goldman Sachs position first, all the institutional investor hedge funds, you name it. And then they're going to open the floodgates. They're going to reschedule. They're going to fully deschedule it. I think that's ultimately where we're going to go. I don't think Congress is going to, come together enough to pass any laws. I think it's going to be similar to what German lawmakers did, where they just deschedule it, and it's not going to be like we saw here in Canada or other markets. I think it's going to more than likely be just removal of the Controlled Substances Act, and that will effectively legalize it. And even Elizabeth Warren said that in a video that I posted on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. So it's effectively two ways, right? Through Congress, a functional Congress, which we don't have in the U.S., and then descheduling. So I think that's the most likely scenario. We'll get there, but we need to take an incremental approach, and we need to get all of our Wall Street favorite banks positioned first, because nothing happens in the world without the JP Morgan's, Goldman Sachs, and the Morgan Stanleys, right? So it is what it is, unfortunately, but we just have to be aware and take it as it comes. But one thing I'm looking at here in terms of the S&P 500 as well is a head and shoulders that could potentially be lining up here on the chart. So we are forming the head. It's a little early yet. We're still just kind of forming that right shoulder. And we'll see if that kind of plays out here. But if we did confirm that, we'd be targeting about a move down to around 494, and that would be headwinds for Curaleaf. But at the moment, we're still really no major red flags whatsoever on the S&P 500. We could be gearing up for an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross as well on the S&P 500, and we could potentially be heading to daily oversold. First time since October. Same thing with a lot of these MJ stocks. So right now, there's no major red flags, but just keep an eye out for potential daily head and shoulders. And we'll be watching the broader market into tomorrow to see how Curaleaf responds. But I also mentioned that I was very concerned about the weekly time frame on Curaleaf. We had a stochastic bear cross, and we were seeing a potential bear cross in the MACD on the weekly time frame, and we lost the 10-week moving average. And I said we were more than likely going to come back, test the 50 weekly, which is sitting there at $6 Canadian. If we bring up CURLF just for the U.S. denomination, you can see here we were looking at 450, and we actually lost that. So we closed below it. And now we have the 50 weekly there at 371. And then again for the Canadian side of things, we'd be looking at the 50 weekly there at 501. So I think there's a lot of support there in that mid fives to low $5 range, and even the daily time frame says it as well. We have the 100-day moving average at 567 and the 200-day moving average at 519. But if the broader market is strong tomorrow and the rest of the sector is strong tomorrow, this could very well be a nice performing stock tomorrow based on this report. I think this is overall a positive report, and like I said, they did beat pretty big beat in terms of revenue and EPS. So like I said, if the broader market is bullish and the rest of the sector isn't bleeding out, we don't get any kind of news, or we don't get headwinds from the broader market, I think that we could see a pretty decent day tomorrow. But overall, we still got a lot of work to do in terms of the daily time frame. Anything under 563 would just be a daily lower high, and you best believe that bears are probably going to short that and result in a lower high is the most likely scenario. And it could be a equilibrium tightening range as well based on the size of this range, but it got very close to daily oversold. And I mentioned if anybody was looking for entries, that would be a nice area to target for entries. And like I said, looking at the 50 weekly there around 501 and the 200-day moving average there around 519. So realistically, I think adding, if you're looking to add to your position, I'm not telling you to buy, sell, or hold. I never will. But in my opinion, adding, anywhere around these levels, anywhere around, $6, between $6 and $5 can't go wrong. In my opinion, it could start to scale in, add a little bit at $6, a little bit at $5.50, another tranche at $5, right? So going down to there, let me know what you think of this report. If you were able to join the conference call, let me know. Like I said, I was unfortunately unable to do that, but hopefully over the next couple of months, things will start to kind of calm down. Dealing with the newborn is definitely challenging and tiresome, but she's super sweet. So like I said, always worth it. But going down to there, it's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the Pursuit of Wealth, and we'll see you again on the next video.